We're all in trouble financially, or is there time to prepare? Warning bells are ringing loud and clear. Is it too late to prepare for the impending economic crisis? The crazy repo rate in 2019 has brought concerns about the stability of the financial system, and experts fear that it could lead to depression. Renowned financial expert Robert Kiyosaki has issued a stark warning. Is it too late to take action and prepare for the worst? We're going to dive into Kiyosaki's views and examine the urgent need to protect ourselves and our investments from the potential fallout of this crisis. Robert Kiyosaki is a well-known financial educator, author, and entrepreneur who's been a prominent figure in the personal finance world for decades. He's best known for his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which has sold millions of copies worldwide and has helped countless people take control of their finances and become financially independent. However, in recent years, Kiyosaki has been sounding the alarm about the state of the global economy and warning people that we are all in trouble. Kiyosaki's message is clear. We're in the early stages of a major financial crisis and we need to prepare. He believes that the current economic system is unsustainable and that the massive amount of debt that governments and corporations around the world have accumulated is a ticking time bomb that could explode at any moment. In his views, the problem with the current system is that it's based on debt. Governments and corporations borrow money to fund their operations, and they do so at an unprecedented scale. 1913 was a significant year for the formation of the Federal Reserve Bank in America. Prior to the establishment of the Federal Reserve, the United States had a decentralized banking system, which often led to bank failures and financial instability. The Federal Reserve Act of 1913 created a central banking system that was designed to provide a more stable financial system for the country. The Federal Reserve was given the authority to regulate and supervise banks, set monetary policies, and act as a lender of last resort to prevent bank runs and stabilize the financial systems. The 16th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was ratified in 1913, which gave Congress the power to levy and collect income taxes. The introduction of income tax marked a significant shift in the way the U.S. government raised revenue, and it provided a new source of funding for the government to carry out its functions. So not only was the Fed created in 1913, so was the taxman. America was a tax-free nation until that point. So for money to exist, taxes had to exist, and that's why 1913 is so important. Back in 1944, the world agreed to make the U.S. dollar the reserve currency of the world if America promised to keep it backed by gold. In 1971, with President Nixon, said, oops, we couldn't keep our promise, and that allowed money printing to go out of control. So here we are today. According to the World Economist, the U.S. government has spent $17 trillion on the pandemic, including the loans and guarantees for a combined total of 16% of the global GDP. That surely is a hell of a lot. So the U.S. has to print currency or the economy will crash. No wonder gold is in the bullish trend. The United States has a national debt of over $28 trillion, and many other countries have similar levels of debt. Kiyosaki believes that this debt is a problem because it's not sustainable. At some point, the debt will become too large for countries to pay back, and this could lead to a major financial crisis. Furthermore, the COVID-19 pandemic has only made the situation worse. He argues that the shutdowns and economic downturn caused by the pandemic have exacerbated the debt crisis and pushed us closer to the brink of a financial collapse. The pandemic has also exposed the fragility of the global economy and the fact that it is built on a fragile house of cards. Kiyosaki points to the interconnectedness of the world economy, with banks and corporations relying on each other for funding and support. If one major institution were to fail, it could trigger a domino effect that could bring down the entire system. Kiyosaki also warns that the current system is rigged against the average person. He argues that the rich and powerful have the ability to manipulate the financial system to their advantage, leaving ordinary people struggling to make ends meet. He points to the fact that central banks have been printing money at an unprecedented rate, which has led to inflation and a devaluation of the currency. This means that the cost of living is going up, but wages are not keeping pace. So what can people do to prepare for the coming financial crisis? Kiyosaki has several suggestions. First, he encourages people to educate themselves about money and finance. He argues that the current education system does not teach people how to handle money or invest wisely, and that people need to take it upon themselves to learn these skills. Kiyosaki himself is a proponent of real estate investing and encourages people to consider this as a way to build wealth. Kiyosaki believes that investing in real estate can provide a passive income stream and hedge against inflation. He argues that owning rental properties can provide steady cash flow and that the value of the properties will appreciate over time, providing a long-term return on investment. He advises people to learn about the real estate market in their area and to consider investing in properties that have the potential for growth. In addition to real estate, Kiyosaki suggests that people consider investing in precious metals like gold and silver. He argues that these metals have been a store of value for centuries and can provide a hedge against inflation and currency devaluation. He advises people to buy physical gold and silver coins or bars and to store them in a safe place. Furthermore, Kiyosaki advises people to take control of their own finances. He argues that people need to become more self-sufficient and less reliant on the government or their employers and financial security. In addition to this, he's warning about the impending financial crisis. Robert Kiyosaki has also expressed concerns about the rise of socialism and the potential impact it could have on the economy and society as a whole. He argues that capitalism, which has been the driving force behind the economic success in many countries, is under threat from the growing popularity of socialist ideas and policies. Kiyosaki believes that capitalism is the best economic system for creating wealth and prosperity for most people. He argues that capitalism is based on the principle of free markets and competition, which incentivize innovation and entrepreneurship. He also believes that capitalism is the only system that can provide the resources necessary for social programs and public services, as it generates the wealth needed to fund them. However, Kiyosaki also acknowledges that capitalism is not perfect and that there are flaws in the system. He believes that one of the biggest problems with capitalism is income inequality. He argues that the rich are getting richer while the poor are getting poorer, and that this is leading to social unrest and political instability. Kiyosaki believes that the solution to income inequality is not socialism, but rather financial education and entrepreneurship. He argues that people need to take control of their own financial future and learn how to create wealth for themselves. He believes that entrepreneurship is the key to creating new business and jobs, which will in turn help to reduce income inequality and create more opportunities for everyone. However, Kiyosaki is also concerned about the growing popularity of socialist ideas and policies, particularly among younger generations. He believes that socialism is a dangerous and misguided ideology that could lead to an economic and social ruin. One of Kiyosaki's main criticisms of socialism is that it's based on a flawed understanding of economics. He argues that socialism assumes that resources are unlimited and that the government can simply redistribute wealth as it sees fit. However, Kiyosaki believes that resources are finite and that the government cannot create wealth out of thin air. He argues that socialist policies, such as high taxes and wealth redistribution, will ultimately lead to economic stagnation and decline. Kiyosaki is also critical of the idea that the government should be the primary provider of social programs and public services. He argues that the government is often inefficient and wasteful, and that private enterprise is better suited to provide these services. He also believes that government-run social programs can be disincentive to work, as they can create a culture of dependency and entitlement. Kiyosaki is not alone in the concerns about the rise of socialism. Many economists and political analysts have also expressed worries about the potential impact of socialist policies on the economy and society. They argue that socialism leads to reduced economic growth, higher taxes, and increased government control over the economy. In recent years, there's been a growing debate over the merits of capitalism versus socialism. Some have argued that the two systems can coexist, with capitalism providing the engine for economic growth and socialism providing a safety net for those in need. Others believe that capitalism and socialism are fundamentally incompatible, and that one must ultimately prevail over the other. Kiyosaki's message is clear. We need to be prepared for the coming financial crisis, and we need to be wary of the growing popularity of socialist ideas and policies. He believes that the solution to income inequality and other social and economic problems is not socialism, but rather financial education, entrepreneurship, and a commitment to free market and competition. In September 2019, the overnight repo rate in the United States spiked to an unprecedented 10%, prompting concerns about the stability of the financial system and the potential for a new economic depression. This sudden spike in the repo rate, which is the rate at which banks lend money to each other overnight, was a symptom of larger problems in the financial system that had been building for years. Robert Kiyosaki was among the many financial experts who warned of the potential impact of the repo rate spike on the economy. He argued that the repo rate spike was a sign of deeper problems in the financial system and that it could be a precursor to a new economic crisis. He argued that the repo rate spike was just the beginning of a larger crisis that could lead to a new depression. Kiyosaki's concerns were not unfounded. The repo rate spike was just one of the several warning signs that the economy was heading for trouble. In addition to the repo rate spike, there was also concerns about slowing economic growth, rising trade tensions, and increasing political instability around the world. The repo rate spike also had ripple effects throughout the financial system. It caused disruptions in the short-term lending markets, which are critical for banking and other financial institutions to meet their daily funding needs. It also led to the tightening of credit conditions as banks become more reluctant to lend money to each other and to their customers. Kiyosaki argued that the repo rate spike was a wake-up call for investors and policymakers. He argued people to take steps to protect themselves from the potential fallout of a new economic crisis, such as diversifying their investments and holding assets that would hold their value in a downturn. Kiyosaki also argued that policymakers needed to take action to address the underlying problems in the financial system. He called for a re-evaluation of the role of central banks and the use of low interest rates as a tool for stimulating economic growth. He also argued governments to address the issue of debt and to take steps to reduce their reliance on borrowing. Kiyosaki's warning about the repo rate spike and the potential for a new depression highlight the needs for individuals, investors, and policymakers to take action to address the underlying problems in the financial system. This includes reducing debt levels, addressing income inequality, and promoting financial education and entrepreneurship. Kiyosaki's message is one of caution, but also of hope. He believes that by taking steps to address the underlying issues in the financial system, we can create a more stable and prosperous economy for everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more mind-blowing content. Take care of your financial health.